Yes, I am YAFFEE, of course.
YAFFEE.
Yeah, so YAFFEE Live is the show. If you Google YAFFEE, you can find out about that, or follow me on X at YAFFEE, like the YAFFEE Facebook page, Instagram at YAFFEE Live. You can always see my interviews that I'm about to do with Brandon Lewis at the Tennessee Conservative. Go to TennesseeConservativeNews.com. There's also, all kinds of stuff about me on social media. And then when people spell it right, they can find it. I just have to say.
You know, I'm not a good speller, but it didn't take me that long. Now, that Abramowitz guy,
I know.
that kind of tore me up a little while.
Spelled it wrong again yesterday, by the way.
Well, it's a typo because I know how to spell it.
Oh, yeah. I think you mixed up like two letters.
Oh, sorry. I'm not a typist, okay?
All right, Brandon Lewis is joining us right now. He's founder of the Tennessee Conservative. You can read their great news stuff at TennesseeConservativeNews.com and, of course, on social media. Brandon, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great. I'm glad to be on the phone with the sun-tanned and well-rested Michael YAFFEE.
Yeah. Contrary to some smears out there about me, I was not suspended. I went to Florida to visit family, and yeah, it was very nice. So the weather was gorgeous, like all week too. But yes, it's good to be back. Definitely want to talk to you about this story you guys have on your site, where there's proposed Tennessee legislation that would mandate a vote on future property tax increases. It's being pushed by the Beacon Center of Tennessee. What do you think about it?
Well, the Beacon Center does some really good work in the areas that they do good work in, and I'm glad to see that they are pushing this. They're really a good think tank on a number of issues. They're very much anti-corporate welfare and things of that nature, which is good to know as we watch Bill Lee huddle up with the World Economic Forum here in Tennessee at Vanderbilt. The wonderful institution that we had to stop from lopping off body parts from kids. Two organizations conservatives really trust. And so the Beacon Center, on the other hand, is a good conservative ally. And essentially, Tennessee, YAFFEE, is one of only 4 states that doesn't have some sort of property tax cap. And you have liberal mayors like Tim Kelly and the one Freddie O'Connell, and even prior Hamilton County mayors that think that taxpayers all across Tennessee, when they look out and they're speaking to us, they only see piggybanks. Like, they don't really see humans that have to live on a budget. They don't really see 35% inflation over the last 4 years. What they see are just piggybanks. And so they're constantly breaking those to fund whatever government largesse that they want. And Justin Beacon said basically what everybody knows is the government needs to learn how to live under a budget as well. And so, according to Owen, the center's proposal will trigger a countywide referendum. And I love it when people have to vote on it. And to me, like, if you get an entire county to say, sure, take more money, that's great. But otherwise, I don't think they should be able to do it. And the Beacon Center rightly says that we're going to have huge pushback from taxpayer-funded lobbyists, which is something I hate. And that is where people who are getting paid by the city, paid by the county with your tax dollars, will then go up to Nashville and lobby to get more of your tax dollars. And we see this in government agencies when Bill Lee sends down people from the different government organizations to kill conservative legislation. So we're going to have a huge fight because people like Freddie O'Connell and people like Tim Kelly, like they see piggybanks, right? They don't see people. And what they want to do is continually get in their pocket. So I think with 2026 being an election year, I think we've got a good chance, because I don't think I would want to be a Republican official voting against this in this climate heading into a primary.
We need to get Governor Ron DeSantis out of Florida, speaking of Florida, because he's pushing to abolish property taxes entirely because of the problem it causes. It's like you're renting, really you should just pay taxes when you buy the house, but the idea you're renting from the government constantly and it just fluctuates so much it's really what's made this a bigger issue, is that property values have fluctuated so much, and then your property taxes go up and people can't afford it.
Well, it's bull crap in addition, because people like me that build a house who plan to be buried in their backyard, like, I will never realize a gain from the value of my home. It is simply an expense I have paid off and paid for as a dwelling place. Like, I'm never selling the thing. And so to me, if you're going to tax somebody on an asset, I mean, I really don't like taxing people on their home. I think it's very
Right.
irresponsible of the government. I mean, this is your last, even when you even file for bankruptcy, they can't take the place you live in. And it's amazing, but we can slowly but surely take the place that people live in. Old people, you move into a ritzy neighborhood, you may even a downtrodden neighborhood, YAFFEE, that becomes gentrified and turns into some bougie dwelling place for folks, but you don't ever plan to leave, and year after year you're stuck on Social Security for 20 or 30 years, and your taxes just keep going up and up and up and up. It just really it burns my bacon that we have this
Yeah.
in Tennessee, and hopefully something can happen from it. And finally, I'll say, I remember fighting the property tax increase in Chattanooga with the help of GOW. I even took some of my radio advertising and flipped it toward fighting the property tax, and I didn't care who knew about it. And it actually brought me a bunch of business because most people are like, yes, I
Right.
would like the government out of my pocket. Thank you for advocating for us. Come paint my house. And so at any rate, I think it'd be a good thing. I'd love to see it pass, and I'll support it.
Yeah, the argument I always hear, though, is that if we get rid of property taxes, they'll want a state income tax or something. The answer is never to cut spending, but yeah, that's always the argument I hear.
Well, luckily in Tennessee, we passed a state constitutional amendment against property tax increases. So the ability of the legislature to do that has been curtailed. And I hope I'm not speaking out of turn. I'm almost positive that happened. And so I don't think we have to fear that in Tennessee so much, I hope. And I would be fine paying a higher sales tax. I'd rather be taxed on consumption, but not on possession.
Yeah, there's talk about, the fair tax federally. So there are a lot of people like you in that regard. I'm speaking with Brandon Lewis, founder of the Tennessee Conservative. Now we got to talk about crime, national security, city security. We talked about it here in Chattanooga, and you guys have a story about Middle Tennessee getting their own Homeland Security task force. Now, this is based in Nashville. It's going to target fentanyl and gang violence.
Yeah, essentially they're trying to get together tons of different agencies, which I'm always a little skeptical. I mean, when you get a bunch of bureaucracies together, often you just end up with more bureaucracy. But I have seen programs like the ones that we have where ICE is partnering with law enforcement agencies at the state and local level in Tennessee that seem to be effective for those things. So, until it falls on its face, I'm all for it. But essentially, they're wanting to crack down on fentanyl trafficking, gang violence, the influx of firearms and illegal drugs into Middle Tennessee communities. And, they've already announced doing this, working together for a few months, 38 individuals on a variety of charges, trafficking cocaine, fentanyl, methamphetamine, et cetera. And I've had friends that have died, and daughters and sons of friends that have died with fentanyl and recreational drugs they didn't even know. And they had 8 members are associates of MS-13. Many are illegal aliens, and Sheriff Casey Cox has been working with narcotic investigators and about 100 miles east of Tennessee, and they arrested 20 drug dealers. And so I'm hoping to see this increase, and they're also looking at the possibility of opening up a national call center in Nashville designated to handle, around 6,000 or 7,000 calls. And the center would help law enforcement with locating unaccompanied children who are in the country illegally. And so we're hoping that moves forward. I'm all for anything that reduces crime in our state, especially in these urban areas where Democrats are unwilling to address the issues.
And we're going to talk more about what's going on in Memphis, speaking about fighting against crime, because it's been successful. And to me, what that really shows is that it is possible to clean up crime. In a lot of these big cities, they kind of make it seem like it's almost impossible to really get rid of the bad crime. And actually, no, it is possible. It just takes will, right? It takes leadership and will to get it done,
It does. I was down at Rembrandt's this morning, YAFFEE, meeting with a guy that owns a big software company that serves the contracting industry, and his family's just visiting Tennessee. And he said, man, I can't believe how clean your city is. And I said, no, it's not how clean our city is. It's how clean the downtown tourist area is.
Right.
So you drive 1 mile this way, get through the Brainerd tunnels. You don't even have to get through the Brainerd tunnels. Look around. There's trash, there's hobos, there's people passed out on benches, there's, houses where they're running prostitution and drugs. Like it's whatever makes a little bit of money for the folks that come into town for conferences, people that only see one side of the city. But we're very negligent in Chattanooga at protecting those people that live in those crime-ridden zip codes. And I would really love to see them just flood the zone like they did in Memphis. And so we're only 40 days into the Memphis Safe Task Force. They've issued or cleared 100 or 1,000 warrants. They've made 2,000 arrests. And here's like a big deal. They've recovered over 100 missing children.
That is, I know.
I mean, what Democrat could look at 100 kids in a room who have been taken from their parents or whatever situation that they've been taken from and go, I'm not for that. I mean, to me, that's a hard thing to argue with. And so it's just amazing. 105, as a matter of fact, and they've led to numerous arrests, including people wanted for kidnapping, sex crimes, drug trafficking, and 63% of Tennesseans approve the decision to send the National Guard to Memphis, and for over a majority of Republicans surveyed like it, but 33% of Democrats don't. But the funny thing is, when you get on the streets of Memphis and you talk to people that live in these crime-ridden areas, they are all for it. They like their safety more than they like their politics. But your white gentry liberals, college-educated folks that are living miles and miles away from the crime that don't have to deal with it anyway, they could give two hoots less, because to them it's just a political construct. But to the folks living in these areas, it's the reality they live in day to day.
Well, and every time I look at the results of the task force and you hear that they found 105 missing children, it still just makes me sad that we let it get to that point, that an American city in this country, as prosperous as we are, we couldn't clean up the crime or at least prevent 105 children from going missing. We just weren't doing anything about it. We just said, oh, well, who cares? And it took Trump finally saying, we should care. And I feel like we should, not just in Memphis, but across the country.
Well, I think the ire that is primarily, you figure if you're a Democrat mayor, and it just punctuates the fact that you've been sleeping on the job with your fundamental duties, which is the core function of a city. Safety and cleanliness, I would put up at the tippy top, and then probably roads and infrastructure after that, and then whatever other miscellaneous junk you want to pile on the taxpayers that people don't care about. But the problem with Democrats, like Tim Kelly's, they flip it on its head, and it's DEI and garbage and stuff that nobody cares about. And then it's, if we can get to safety, if we can get to cleanliness, if we can get to good infrastructure, maybe. But we're going to bloat the government and shuffle a bunch of papers around, and we're going to lose sight of what our core direction is as government. And this happens it's not just, government, it's business, it's nonprofits, it's software. I mean, you name it. When you lose sight of your core fundamental functions, it's easy to go adrift. And so many Democrats, in my opinion, have gone adrift, and a lot of Republicans do too. I mean, I'm not saying that they don't. But when it comes to crime and public safety and general cleanliness, I would at least say Republicans have a huge leg up on Democrats in Tennessee.
Brandon Lewis is the founder of the Tennessee Conservative. Real quick, any thoughts on the shutdown finally ending? I know you're not, you don't keep up with federal politics as much, but any thoughts on all that?
Well, yeah, here's the unique thing I discovered during the shutdown. It's weird. My life didn't change at all. It didn't change at all. I mean, that is a bunch of ballyhoo about next to nothing. And the thing that it should, I think the point that it should drive home to people is how much we don't need the government.
Exactly.
And how little it really does that is effective or efficient. And I don't care. You shut the whole damn thing down and just crank up 3 or 4 parts of it. I don't think 99.99% of people would miss it. And, the pendulum has swung for too long toward government largesse. And I would love, and I don't know that we'll ever even see it in my lifetime, which is crazy, that they would actually pass a real budget every year.
I know, exactly.
It's unconscionable. I don't see how they go to work every day thinking they've done a good job when they just keep passing the same bloated, broken budget. The good thing about budgeting in an organization is it forces you to open up, the hall closet that's got all the crap crammed in it that you keep shoving in it and shutting the door before everything falls out, and to actually open it up, go through everything, organize it, throw the stuff out that you don't need. But instead, they just keep walking past the problems year after year instead of addressing them, because budgets and addressing budgets in any organization often gets you down to brass tacks of what's important, and the last thing they want to do is cut anything ever. It's a temporary. There's nothing more permanent than a temporary government program.
Yep.
And so I would really love to see those things go away, but I don't even know with Trump in the White House that we'll ever see any significant change there. But if we can make it grow slower, sometimes I think that's just about as much as we can hope for.
Brandon Lewis, I think you're right about that. Read his stuff at TennesseeConservativeNews.com. Brandon, appreciate it as always. We'll talk to you again in the future.
All right, take care,
Guys, go to TennesseeConservativeNews.com. Hit the support button. We need your donations. Boy, this has been a rough summer. I ain't going to lie to you. Trump complacency syndrome is in full effect. Don't think because we've got somebody decent in the White House that it somehow trickles down into state and local government. Boy, it doesn't. We report story after story that completely contradicts that. So you can also mail your checks to P.O. Box 625, Signal Mountain, Tennessee 37377. And if you should give a donation of $50 or more, or a recurring donation of $10 or more, we'll send you a proud Tennessee conservative tumbler, a koozie, our heartfelt thanks, and a directory of your elected officials for those that have ears to hear and eyes to see.